just start out with a song to break the ice and everything, and I invite you to choose joy in this moment, and because I deeply care about all of you beings, and yeah, let's just enjoy ourselves, and I hope you guys enjoy the presentation. Because this is somewhat directed at romantic relationships as well, I wanted to share a love song that I wrote. So here it goes. This is Seek Not. Okay, let's begin. I just would like to start with a short prayer. Great Spirit, please be my words, be my deeds tonight. Live through me, so that I need not be concerned with what I am doing. Hello, joy. It's nice. Okay. The mighty companionship. Okay, my intention with this public speaking event is to strengthen our relationship to each other and our companionship with each other, I suppose, and just bringing love to the mix so that we can all bring this golden age or new earth or whatever you want to call it into manifestation, so we can be at peace and really there's no limitations in truth of what we could create. So my intention is for us to recognize each other as sacred and as love. So I wanted to do a little introduction, even though I did that last time, there's some new people here, so I wanted to share the intro again, and my journey. So when I was very young, about 4 years old, I'll start even, I'm not going to tell my whole life story, but I'll summarize. When I was about 4 years old, just like any kid, I wanted to be like the best in the world at something, or be on top of the world, or specifically though, I wanted to be the best soccer player in the whole world. And many kids have big dreams like that, and as we can tell, I'm sure, a lot of these people don't really follow through with this childlike wonder for their entire life. They sort of mature and forget about the child within. And this child within was the seed of my spiritual transformation. But just like a lot of people and everything, this dream shifted in high school when I continually got injured with playing sports and stuff like that. So I kind of took it as a sign or an omen that maybe I'm not meant to be an athlete. And that sort of shifted to music, actually, which thankfully is still with me. But my dream from being a great athlete shifted to being the best musician or something. And for some reason, I wanted to be the best at something. But something happened to me where I was 16 years old, I was reading these books, and they were a huge catalyst for my spiritual growth. I wanted to mention it in this way that I read a name that resonated with me so deeply and profoundly that I knew it was me. And it didn't really make sense to my rational mind, but the spiritual experiences that happened out of that completely transformed me and showed me, as I took this leap of faith, that, well, this is real, and we are not just the body. We are so much more. And we've had many lifetimes, and even us in this room, I'm sure we've had many lifetimes together. But anyway, this dream of being a musician sort of shifted when I was 16, when I kind of realized, well, I don't really want to be the best anymore. Like, sure, I want to be the best, but I want everyone to be the best. And I want everyone to be the best at best love. I want to, I just want an unequivocal, perfected awareness of love. So after this happened, I created my YouTube channel, which is called Thoth's Wisdom, and so I've been making videos for a few years and everything now, and just recently I started a business up called Love Is, which has it's mostly, like, its primary services are events such as this, and the secondary services are more in-person things. Yeah, I don't have any business cards with me today, but that's okay. Okay, so that's my intro, and I would like to share a couple Osho quotes. I don't know if any of you may be familiar with Osho, but he has some beautiful quotes, that's for sure. Here's the first one. The capacity to be alone is the capacity to love. It may look paradoxical to you, but it is not. It is an existential truth. Only those people who are capable of being alone are capable of love, of sharing, of going into the deepest core of another person without possessing the other, without becoming dependent on the other, without reducing the other to a thing, and without becoming addicted to the other. They allow the other absolute freedom because they know that if the other leaves, they will be as happy as they are now. Their happiness cannot be taken by the other because it is not given by the other. This is kind of the essence of what I'll be speaking of today. But this is an Osho quote, and I have another one here that's also quite beautiful. If you love a flower, don't pick it up, because if you pick it up, it dies and ceases to be what you love. So if you love a flower, let it be. Love is not about possession, love is about appreciation. So what is the mighty companionship? The mighty companionship is our relationship to each other through love, really, through spirit. And if you're speaking in A Course in Miracles terminology, it would be through the Holy Spirit, and what I call it the Sacred Spirit. But and this, as the quote was saying, the deeper that we connect to ourself and our true self, and eliminate our suffering and be at peace, the stronger our relationship is to each other, because there's really a mirror effect with this reality that we experience. And this is it's a separation reality, but it only seems to be separate. We are not truly separate from one another. There is one unified mind, and when we tap into this unified mind, it happens because we're tuning into love, and that is something that we find within ourselves. It's not something that we find in the external. So fear separates and love unifies. So this may seem very like a basic thing, or maybe like there's not much to it, but really, if you look more deeply, we seem to live in these separate bodies, and these separate bodies, when we are seen through the lens of the ego mind, we are fearful when we believe in separation, that we are this ego self-concept. But when we start seeing that we are spirit and love, and actually the force of life that brings everything together, even in ceremony, if that's okay to say, or in sacredness, yeah, that's just a beautiful thing. And yeah, love unifies and brings us together, and it's a beautiful thing when we can just be authentic and not hide from each other, not disrespect each other. And I would like to sort of just touch upon the whole concept of miracles, because the opposite of miracles is conflict, actually. And there is an opposite of miracles, because miracles are in the realm of the mind. But there is no opposite of love, because love is beyond the mind. Love is in the mind, but the mind is not in love, if that makes sense. Because the mind has its limit, but the spirit can never be limited. And then, so what a miracle is the love. It's minds joined in love's, in the awareness of love's presence. Minds joined in love's presence. And this is what the true miracle is. It's a bridge to the source. It's a bridge to spirit. And it's also a shift of perception from fear to love. And so even forgiveness is a miracle in the sense that it is a shift from fear to love. And forgiveness is a true miracle because it is the means to peace. And peace, when you reach an unequivocal state of peace, perfected perception, then God takes the last step for us. And well, that's something that cannot really be explained. I also wanted to say that love has no opposite, because you cannot eliminate love completely. Any being cannot embody hate completely, or they would not exist. Because self-hatred is hatred to another, and it would simply destroy itself if there was no love. It would not exist, because, well, it's only a illusion that we can separate from love. It's because the reality of things is that love is everywhere, and love is in all things. So that's really a definition of wisdom, because what wisdom means, at least to me, one definition of it is seeing innocence or sacredness. I'm going to use the word innocence. Seeing innocence in everything, all the time, no matter what. And, well, doesn't that seem like a very beautiful way to experience reality, to always see the innocence and feel the peace that gives you when you realize that all of the wrongdoings were just merely others perceiving a lack of love, and really, instead of expressing love, they were calling for love unconsciously. So everything is either an expression of love or a call for love, and this puts us in a state of compassion, which is part of wisdom. There's another side of the coin, of course. We may be asking, well, if you see everyone as innocent, that's going to be a little, possibly some chaotic experiences may come of that in this world, on the level of form. You don't want to always perceive innocence as what you may think, but it's great to see their innocence, actually, and it's seeing truly to see their innocence, but we also need to respond to images of this world as just for the sake of explaining, I wanted to say that respond to images as if, well, there is innocence in them, but the images themselves may not be loving. So what we want to do is not necessarily always try to correct others. At times, someone that is very dangerous should maybe be put away from people so that they can't hurt anyone and stuff like that. And there's a time for justice and righteousness, and that doesn't mean kind of just like, yay, everyone's innocent, I'm just gonna, some people say, ignorance is bliss, and but bliss is not ignorant. It's ignorant to deny our nature and sort of suffer when we're not in position to help people if we're suffering. So we need to be in a state of peace to help others and to be in a true state of compassion and offer healing. But I don't want you to get carried away with seeing everyone as innocent. It's just to give you peace of mind. In the grand scheme of things, everyone is innocent, and well, I've already shared how, because in truth we are spirit and we are love, and we're not this self-concept that we have the choice to believe we are. But if we believe that we are a body, we believe in limitation. That's a limited self-concept, the ego mind. So to simply very powerful, very, very powerful thing. I may be sort of losing my train of thought. Doing my best. Pardon?
I was saying, woo!
Wee. Okay, ego and spirit. So I wanted to speak about projection and extension. These are these are opposites, projection and extension. Projection basically being blame. So even in a friendship or something, we may blame the external world, and maybe it's someone else, for how we feel within ourselves. So it may not seem that that's what's happening, but we're blaming. If we're blaming, it's because we are not at peace, and we have so much unconscious guilt, I'll call it, that we are actually putting it outside of us into this world, but it's kind of like we put a veil over the world in that we're not seeing it how it truly is. We're incorrectly perceiving if we're blaming. The correction for blame is really taking responsibility for your peace or your suffering and coming to terms with it and saying simply this, that when I suffer, it is because I chose to suffer. And when I feel peace, I chose to feel peace. It's obviously a leap of faith from the typical, what most people think and everything, but peace is a choice. And we are choosing all the time. There's so many possibilities in life, and so many of those choices are unconscious. But to make as many choices as you can, more conscious to, like, choosing peace, and applying the principles and practicing peace and forgiveness can really make your life and your relationships more beautiful. Extension is the opposite of projection. So instead of projecting an illusion about somebody onto them, you are seeing them how they truly are, which is sacredness, holiness, and spirit, and innocence, and all these things. So when we extend light, we do not withhold any gift. We give truly, and we cannot withhold our gifts, because giving is receiving. And if we want to make the world a better place and everything, we have to not withhold our gifts to our brothers and sisters, and we have to be able to also accept a gift with grace and gratitude, for that's all part of the same thing, because giving is receiving. That's a principle in A Course in Miracles, as well as there's a little quote I'm sharing, which is, how you treat your brother is how you treat yourself, and how you see your brother is how you see yourself. So you may not yet know the extent of how much this world actually mirrors our awareness, our mind. But there is no exceptions with the whole mind over matter thing, where our minds and our thoughts do create reality. It all begins in the mind. Everything that we do begins in the mind. I wanted to speak about the body because even though we aren't this, we should give it gratitude and love. We should nurture ourselves. And even live in a abundant, healthy mentality. But the greatest purpose and the only real purpose of the body is a communication device. And I would say that there is a lot more purpose in communicating miracles than communicating conflict. I wouldn't say that either or is more powerful, but one is definitely more true. And when we are aligning with the Creator, with love, with Spirit, we no longer have power to limit ourselves or our brothers and sisters. So the purpose of the body is to communicate, and it's not necessarily to share a bunch of principles or something like that. It's more that, well, we're teaching all the time by just being, and people are learning all the time. So what we want to do is we want to lead by example instead of, trying to correct the external world. We kind of give within until we give externally and share the simple moments with our brothers and sisters that are so important, like just having some fun and having some laughs and having some gatherings of celebration and sacredness. This is what life is about here. And then there's another part about another opposite thing here, which is there's something called a special relationship and something called a sacred relationship. So, specialness and sacredness. Specialness is a very, it's very selective in who their friends are, who they share their love to even. And when you're living and following this law of specialness, it's of the ego, and you see some people as more important and some people as less important, to put it simply. But this is a limiting belief that we could carry, because everyone is equally as important. God could not exist without a single soul, without a single one of us, because we all have to exist forever for God to be complete. If one of us dies, that's like impossible, first of all, but God would die, because we are God's creation, and he wouldn't be complete without his creation, because that is what he is in a way, and we are our creator as well. And sacredness is unconditional. So we love people for no reason really. In a sense, we love them simply because they exist, and because, well, it takes some understanding and some principles to really grasp this stuff, but being unconditional and loving someone for no reason, well, you're loving them because they're sacred, you're loving them because they're spirit, you're loving them because in truth they are love and they love all as well. And the sacred relationship is also non-selective, so it doesn't select who it's going to be friends with through the ego self-concept. It simply follows the guidance it is given. And the more that we practice call it intuition or your guidance, following your guidance, the stronger it will become. Because when we follow our guidance, it brings us to a higher frequency. And when we're at a higher frequency, we're at a place to hear our guidance better, or receive guidance better, more clearly. And the sacredness is also all-inclusive. So it's a mentality that all beings are invited to the ceremony, all beings are invited to the celebration of life. And why would we ever exclude someone from being peaceful, from understanding this depth of love that we truly are? Because we can be at peace all the time and through any experience. Jesus Christ was an example of this. Buddha was an example of this. Krishna and all these yogis and all that stuff in India and all. There has been many embodiments of love, and they are graceful through what we call suffering. They're seeing it from this place of stillness and love and gratitude. It's their spirit, and they're witnessing this separated reality take place from a place of peace. Their consciousness, in other words, is elsewhere. It's not in their body in the sense of believing that they are a body. Their consciousness is in spirit first. And how we get to that sort of state is forgiveness. Forgiveness is seeing, overlooking sin into the existential innocence that is reality. And then the other side of the coin of forgiveness is responding to images, which I was speaking of before. I already talked about miracles and conflict. Now I guess we're getting a little bit into the romantic sort of expression of spirit, because that is a sacred thing as well. And well, Osho said it beautifully that if we have no, desires, expectations, attachments, and stuff like that, we allow others to be free. We allow ourselves freedom as well. And you can see in that example how the world is a mirror, and how our mind is creating this reality because if we are free, we're inviting everyone else to be free. So I just wanted to bring up respect and consent, because I want everyone to be comfortable, and people have been wronged, and everyone really, in some form, in some way, has been projected at, or whatever it may be, and I wouldn't judge that. I wouldn't blame them, but rather step into compassionate understanding, and just embody the opposite of crossing boundaries and stuff like that. Just asking someone, is this okay with you? And stuff like that. Like, you may be just walking around town, and you want to ask, is it okay if we go over here? Or is it okay if, and there's extreme examples, I suppose, as well, like even like a sexual relationship. Obviously there has to be consent, and even the subtleties matter. It's not just like if they say they want to or whatever, that's okay right away. Well, sometimes you have to read the subtleties, and really value this joy of God beyond any pleasure of this world, because just that joy of God and that guidance is telling us to be respectful, to not be controlling, and to ask for consent, so that everyone is happy and everyone is comfortable, everyone feels loved. So I think it's time that we look within on a deeper, more profound level at this time, and we could just contemplate how we can respect each other more. Because, I'm seeing with myself that I could be more respectful to myself, and therefore I'm probably being disrespectful to others in some way that I'm unconscious of. But I'm choosing to be respectful to myself, and sometimes it's respectful to get out of your shell and be a little uncomfortable and stuff. But really knowing and discerning between discomfort of the ego and discomfort of something spiritual, that's something to look at and really tap into your guidance for answers for that one. I'm ultimately not trying to change anyone. Ultimately, I would love for all of you to just know that there is a means to peace and strengthening our relationship with each other. I wouldn't really, like I said, try to change anyone, but really just myself, because it makes it's not our task to manage or change others, it's our task to change our own mind, and we can be fulfilled in just being ourselves, and being authentic. We don't have to have other people be authentic to be happy. All we have to do is have ourselves be in peace and be in compassion. Compassion is not to suffer with others' suffering necessarily. There is a kind of suffering that comes with compassion, I would say, that is more, it's less like pitying others and more like just finding common ground that you can both speak of, and just letting someone know that you're there for them, and that they're loved. And I guess what I was trying to remember there was being graceful through that suffering, being the witness, and not being so taken by darkness, I'll call it, and just keeping in the light while being around lower vibrations or suffering. And with the Mighty Companionship, we can find common ground through love, or common ground through the sacred spirit. And I don't necessarily mean that we have to find common ground through like A Course in Miracles, or through spiritual principles, or through spirituality, through religion, through any of that sort of thing. What I mean is find common ground through your love relationships. There is such thing as a love relationship to hobbies, or to the ocean, or to any experience that you may love. It's equally as valid to have a love relationship to like a tree as it is to, have a love relationship to a human being. Because if we just stay in that state of changelessness, we're free and we can always find common ground through our love relationships. And we are unique in this world, of course we are, and we should embrace our uniqueness. It's a beautiful thing to be different than each other, and to have all these different expressions of the one spirit. But at the core, and in truth, I would say that we are all the same, because of what we are and because of who we are, because we all are the same being, and that being is infinite, and that being is changeless, formless, eternal love. And it's pretty incomprehensible to the mind, of course, because, well, how big is it? Well, it's infinite. Can we really comprehend that? Like, that we are this infinitely big, like, being that's like, or they say that everything is happening at once, and that there's only really the present moment. But there's a great quote I just was inspired to say, which is a Gary Renard quote, and he says that even the past and even the future and even the present moment is equally unreal, because the present moment is spirit, and this is really what the mystics and sages and stuff are talking about when they're saying be in the present moment. It's not always like if you have a thought of the past or a thought of the future, it's bad or something like that. It's not bad. It's an accessible dimension that's happening right now that you're tuning into. You're not necessarily reliving it, but in a way you are, in your mind. And then in a relationship, people have needs, and we should really be focused on our piece to be able to offer ourselves offer to help that person's needs be fulfilled. And it should come naturally. If it doesn't, hello. It's all good. But I was just saying that, yeah, welcome guys. So if you're not fulfilling someone's needs naturally, then the opposite could be that you're sacrificing yourself for that person in some way. So if you're not fulfilling their needs naturally, sacrifice is really when you say like you don't want to do something and you're not guided to do something by spirit, then to do that thing just to make someone happy or to give them some sort of sense of pleasure, I suppose, it's not really adding to the grand scheme of things to make yourself unhappy to fulfill someone's needs or whatever. It's not selfish to say no at times and to say that I need to actually respect my own frequency and stay in the realm of peace by following my guidance and doing what it is I'm guided to do. Actually, if you choose what makes you happy, it adds to it adds to everyone's happiness. So you don't have to think that just because you're not in the same room as someone or something like that, that they're not experiencing exactly what they need to experience for their soul's fulfillment. If you, I could tell tons of stories about how, there was maybe some attachment or something that I guess people have had towards me, and I've said no, and I've done what made me happy, and sort of in form I left that person, and it ended up that both of us were happy, because when when we forgive and when we follow our guidance, when we live forgiveness, we invite everyone to do the same, because our minds are connected. Also, with any sort of relationship, really, it's okay to have boundaries. And right off the bat, boundaries really should be respected. But it's also okay to ask that person why they have that boundary. And, well, if they're not going to tell you that, that's okay too. But if they have a boundary, like they don't like to be touched or something like that, or they don't, something like that, like that should be respected. But a simple like hug or something, like if they don't want to be hugged, and really that's an expression of love. So if they don't want to be hugged, you could ask them like compassionately, like, do you think that you may be trying to hide darkness? And like, don't say that exactly to them, but like, there could be this person could be having a boundary against love, against truth. And it's okay to ask this person and kind of share how you see that boundary and everything in a peaceful, loving way. Because there's boundaries that are meant to be there and boundaries that aren't. So, in the or rather, there are boundaries set up by fear, there are boundaries set up by love. And to just have boundaries in love is really what keeps us safe. It's really what makes us happy and all these great things. And also in any relationship, intentions is a great thing to share to stay out of trouble, I guess. Because just sharing like, hello, the reason I have been talking to you right now is because I love you and I care about you, and just sharing the intention of that is even very powerful. Not everyone is going to share their true intention, and sometimes their intentions will be hidden, but if someone can't really share their intentions with you, a lot of the time it's because they may not know them. They may not be unaware of what they actually even want, or they're afraid of saying their intentions because their intentions aren't in alignment with what they truly want. And then I wanted to talk about our true self. So I call it the inner flame. And it's really our connection to ourself is our connection to others. So I wanted to ask you guys, knowing all of this, this is just like gonna sound funny, but do you guys think you are ready for a relationship? Because, well, we are, in the sense of that we deserve companionship and all of this, and well, we're in this reality, and we shouldn't just isolate ourselves from everyone because we're not ready for a relationship. We have to have the sense of confidence that we are ready for a relationship, but we have to continually look within and strengthen our relationship to ourselves, and the stronger that becomes, the stronger our relationship will be to other people. So I've heard from some sources, I'll say like my guides and teachers, that many beings are not ready for a relationship or a romantic relationship. And this is often because the ego is too tempting for them. They may base a relationship just on sex or just on dark humor and kind of like insulting each other and stuff like that. And a lot of couples fight and everything, and to be honest with you, I do believe that if they just had some time to themselves, really found out who they truly are as their own person without any sort of external influence, that this would help them more than being with someone that they're just going to blame all the time. So that's something to contemplate when, we think like, oh, I wish I had a friend, or I wish I had a girlfriend, or whatever it might be, or, and really, like, you're not having that experience. It could quite possibly be because you're not tuned into that which you seek within yourself, if that makes sense. So, and being yourself. So it's really better to just be yourself than to try to impress others and live under the ego's rules or the conditioned mind's rules. If you're being yourself, you will naturally attract other beings that are like you. And well, if you're not yourself, people will like you for that. And some people will, some people won't. And if you're yourself, some people will like you and some people won't. But being yourself is just a very freeing state where you have your own dependency on God only, or on your true self only, and you're not really accumulating who you are. It's really, you're recognizing what you've always been before you learn this ego self-concept. So it's really unlearning that we're trying to do. We're unlearning the ego, because that's what forgiveness is. It's not, you're not adding anything to who you are. You're actually taking away from what you believe about yourself until all that's left is love. And I have a little story, like, for an example of being yourself and finding your tribe. Because I went for a little trip once, and I went by myself. Because, I asked friends if they wanted to come with me and everything, but my friends were going to another country instead, so I decided to go to Maui, and I went to Maui, and I found people that were even that I bonded with on an even deeper level than the friends that wanted to go to other countries. And this is a great metaphor that if you can't find people that want to do the same thing, just be yourself and do what it is that you truly love, and you'll find the others. And the joy of Creator beyond form. So, and I even wrote the joy of Creator beyond sex, and I wrote form in brackets, because we really could be looking at each other as minds and as one mind, and to love another's mind and for them to love your mind is such a beautiful experience to have. And it's so beyond any sort of unification that a body can have. I'm not saying that sex is limited in any way. I'm saying that simply two forms are, unifying, and if you really think about it, it's kind of a laughable effort to become one. Just the form in itself, and the the pleasure of that and the pain of that, or whatever. Pleasure and pain are two sides of the same coin, if you know what I mean. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying that you can't experience love while having sex. Of course you can, but to just look at sex in it only, it's really not anything. And everyone really thinks that, a lot of people might think it's everything, but the joy of Creator is so beyond any feeling or sensation or bodily chemistry or whatever it might be, that if we simply realize, well, we aren't this ego self-concept, we aren't this body, we are the spirit living through it, that's what makes sex beautiful, because we're seeing it's more of a miracle than a conflict. And like I said, I'm introducing you guys to subtleties. There's a subtle conflict in sex that people can be unaware of, and they're even that is just as important to forgive and correct as as the more obvious stuff. Like Spirit looks at every forgiveness lesson as equally as important. Me, having a sliver could be just as important to forgive as forgiving the worst thing that's ever happened or something. Which may seem wrong, but this is what I've received and what I have faith in. And the more that I practice this principle, the more that I see it to be true through experience. And there's a Course in Miracles quote. I'm feeling comfortable with saying that Jesus said this, as you awaken, mighty companions shall accompany you on your journey. This is in a Course in Miracles quote, and I just have to be grateful right now, because you guys are all here, and I feel like whatever A Course in Miracles is talking about with this quote, it's starting to happen, and it's starting to happen on a collective scale. More and more of us are beginning to be our authentic self, and I guess manifest this perfect reflection as mighty companions. To know yourself is to know the other. So this is not really necessarily talking about the level of form, really. It's more our spiritual nature. To know our true self is to know, like, the same love that I experience is the same as your love. Love is the same. And when someone experiences what I'm calling love, well, everyone has access to that, and everyone is capable of that same love. And this is what unifies us and has us understand each other, and has us not in conflict, and has us creating beautiful experiences. A wise man was once asked, "How do I love others?" And he replied, "There are no others." That was Ramana Maharshi, which actually came to me in a dream the other day. But yeah, that was a cool experience. I just wanted to leave off with talking about the whole idea of twin flames, because maybe some of you are curious of what this is all about. Well, I believe that some of us are very destined to be together, and the only way out is in. The only way to find this divine masculine or feminine counterpart is to find yourself completely. I don't believe that we really ever find our true match until we found ourselves. So this is what twin flame means to me, is it's really just, well, it's beyond words to really think about and really contemplate, but it's a beautiful thing to strive for, because I mean, if that's what your path is, I feel that it's my path, and it hasn't been easy, but I have come to accept that it's easier than denying my purpose and path. If I was to just, settle with just anyone, it wouldn't really resonate with me, and it wouldn't be the ideal situation. So my offering to all of you is just completely be yourself and be as authentic as you can, and be honest, and ask yourself, like, who am I and what do I truly want? I'll tell you that I want peace, and I want love, and I want whatever comes from that, because I trust that like nothing else. take that leap of faith. I am going to finish with a song, possibly two, I'm not sure, but I would love to play this song. I think I will just play one. It's been a while. It's been a long presentation, I think. So I'll probably just play one song and wrap it up. This is the sacred meeting ground. This is what the song's called, and it's actually, how I interpret it is it's God or Spirit speaking to me. And it could be speaking to you or whatever too. You can take it however you like, but that's how this song came to be. Mother Earth, Father Sky, unseparated, love is wide. I say to all of creation, sacred meeting ground.